Okay, Kathy.
Hello, my name is Kathy O'Connell and I am a member of the St Richard's Hospice Living Well team. Today's webinar covers an introduction and some nutritional information. My colleague Safia will be joining us as well. Slide 2, please. The title of the webinar today is Sugar Highs and Sugar Lows. Slide 3, please.
Balancing blood sugar levels. Here we're able to look at a simplistic diagram of how blood sugar levels should be maintained throughout the day. Blood sugar levels are controlled throughout the day to stay within a specific range. The area between the two lines shown here represents that range, while the curvy lines, also shown here, represent the ups and downs of blood sugar. The curvy lines shown here go up and down, but stay within the range. In the morning, blood sugar will be at the lower end of the range, but once we eat, it will rise. Oh, sorry. For more information on blood sugar level ranges for non-diabetic and diabetic people, please go to diabetes.co.uk and just click on ranges. Okay. Blood sugar levels too high, then too low. So here we're going to look at what happens when blood sugar levels are too high and too low. So falling outside of the range. As I previously said, on waking, blood sugar will be at the lower end of the range. If we eat a sugary breakfast, for instance, cornflakes, which is a refined grain, along with added sugar, a stimulant like coffee, also with added sugar, we will cause a sharp rise in blood sugar. Taking it high, the body will respond by releasing excess insulin to remove the excess sugar from the blood. But because it was a flood of sugar, the body's response will be quick, with more insulin than may be needed, which then could result in the dip. Many of us will recognize this dip as irritability, fatigue, low energy, cravings, and dizziness, and sometimes headaches. And what we do then is we reach for the next quick fix, which could be coffee and cake, repeating the cycle of too high followed by too low. Some people could repeat this cycle throughout the day. Now we will look at some foods that may help to balance blood sugar. Over to you, Kathy.
So some foods that may help balance blood sugar levels. Next slide, please. We all enjoy the nice treats, the nice sweet treats that we can have occasionally. But if we have too much of those, that's when problems begin. So this guide here just refers to some of the things that you should eat occasionally. Red meat, beef, pork and lamb, processed meat, cheese, processed soya and corn products. And then the other column, chicken, turkey, game, fish, oily fish, your beans and lentils, nuts and seeds. What these foods have in common is that they are all protein foods. Now, protein also helps to protect your body. It helps you grow muscle, but it also gives you energy. And it gives you energy without giving you sugar highs. So eating a selection of nuts as a snack is a much better food choice than eating a few pieces of chocolate or some of the cereal nut bars that you can buy on the market, which are basically bind together with sugars and syrups. Next slide. Essential fats. You will hear a lot of talk about bad fats all over the place within social media, magazines, and there is a belief that all fats are bad. That is a myth. All fats are not bad. There are some food groups called essential fats, which we can eat occasionally or we can eat frequently. But we all need to eat these essential fats. Again, on the occasional column, we've got red meats, deep fried food, cream, cheese, ready meals, and then your hydrogenated fats, trans fats, margarines. And then those that we can eat frequently. Again, we have nuts in there, nut butters, the seeds, and oily fish. So a nice tuna sandwich for lunch. These are essential fats that our bodies need. Just be wary that certain trans fats cannot be used for cooking. They include seed oils and butters because they change their chemical formulation once they are used for cooking. So be wary of those and try to make your snacks choices from the nuts and the nut butters. Next slide.
The right carbohydrates. What we're going to do is look at how different carbohydrates support blood sugar levels better than others. We've divided it simply into two groups. We've got the poor choices up here and the good choices over on this side. The poor choices are the carbohydrates that have been processed and refined, like white flour and white flour products, such as white bread, cakes, biscuits, pasties, pies, and pastries, white rice and white rice cakes. Some rice cakes are made with whole grain. Refined cereals like cornflakes, Rice Krispies, and then all the flavored things like Cocoa Pops. And then we've got the foods where sugar itself has been added. So sweets, cakes, biscuits, chocolate, squash, fizzy drinks, fruit drinks. And then we have the next group, which are just simple sugars, which is honey and syrups and jam. On the other side, we've got the good choices. Now these are products that release their sugars slowly, so they don't get the same spike in blood sugar. So we've got the whole grain and whole wheat breads, the brown pasta, the brown rice, whole grain cereals, which includes oats, so we could use that for porridge. Shredded wheat is a whole grain, oat cakes, rye bread, rye vita, millet, buckwheat, and then there's a few others if you are interested to look them up. Vegetables and fruit are also carbohydrates. Beans and lentils, while they're multi-food because they're carbohydrate and they're protein foods. Beans and lentils release their sugar very slowly, so they're a good choice of carbohydrate food. And then nuts and seeds, again, nuts and seeds, excellent food source because they've got carbohydrates, they've got protein, and they've got the essential fatty acids that Kathy was talking about. So, to demonstrate why processing and refining of grains becomes detrimental to health, I'd like to show this slide, which shows on the one side the nutrient content of a whole grain, and on the other side, the percentage of that nutrient that is lost after the refining process. So we can see on this side, we've got quite a lot, most of the B vitamins, well, a few of them anyway. Now, the B vitamins are all involved in the metabolism of glucose. So if you've got whole grain, you've got, say, all this B vitamins, but once you process that grain, you lose up to 97% of B1, 94% of B6, and 88% of B3, and then even down here, 68% of B2 and 57% of B5. So very high loss of B vitamins by processing. And then we've got some trace minerals. The most important trace mineral here is chromium, because chromium is involved in blood sugar control. So if you're losing 87% from a grain of wheat, you're losing your sort of blood sugar control mineral there. And then we're looking at fiber, 70%. Fiber slows down the release of blood sugar, but you're taking the fiber out. So there's nothing to slow that digestion down. And grains of wheat also contain essential fatty acids, but not so much in white bread or white bread products. Okay. And so on. So that explains that.
Yeah. So how do we remember all this information? Well, eat a rainbow is one way of remembering it. What we've done here is divide basic foods into the colours of the rainbow. So if you look in the blue-purple section, you've got blueberries, blackberries, beetroot, aubergines. In the green is what you'd expect, your spinach, your celeries, your broccoli, Brussels sprouts, avocados, asparagus. In your reds, you've got red apples, cranberries, raspberries, red grapes and tomatoes. And in your whites, as you would expect to, you can find cauliflower, mushrooms, onions, coconut. And in the yellow and orange section, your squashes, pumpkin, apricots, mangoes, sweet potatoes, pineapples. So lots of varied foods there to choose from. And if you think of your plate for your meals through the day, if you try to include something from each of those food groups, you are eating the rainbow of colors. So if you keep thinking about that when you're thinking about what meals you want to eat, what snacks you would like, if you have a red apple, then you could possibly have some blueberries or blackberries or plums for another meal that day. And there you have two groups from that rainbow.
So that brings us back to balancing blood sugar levels. And using some of the foods that we've been looking at, we can now put in a more balanced and nutrient-dense day for ourselves. So we've got the low sugar when we wake up, but it's not outside the range. So we have breakfast, that's generally, and we're going to, this time we're going to have an egg. So an egg, the egg white is all protein, full protein. And then the yolk is all the other stuff that the egg contains, some essential fatty acids, vitamins and trace minerals. So, and then we're going to have that on some whole grain toast. So a slow release carbohydrate. And obviously, because we've eaten, we are going to raise our blood sugar, but it's mainly because of the egg, we are going to stay within the range. and it should last longer. The feeling of fullness should last longer, and we shouldn't be hungry for quite a while. Some people who have got poor blood sugar balance will be hungry every 2 or 3 hours. But really, people should be able to sustain themselves for a good 4 or 5 hours before they start to feel hungry again. If you do need a snack because your blood sugar is coming down, then like Kathy said, start looking at that rainbow, choose something from there, like an apple, and then think about your protein and your essential fatty acid intake. And that would be very simple, a tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, which, that's not a big ask really, okay. And this will, again, it will raise you, but it will keep you within that range. And then you can look at something like a 3-bean salad and walnuts. So we got protein in the beans and the walnuts. We got carbohydrates, very slow release carbohydrate in the beans. And we've got essential fatty acids in the walnuts. And we've got a salad. So we're going to be getting some of our 5 a day or 7 a day, whatever you want to choose. And it will raise it, obviously, but stay within the range, hopefully taking us through to dinner or tea time when we can have our chicken protein, our whole grain noodles, which is the carbohydrates, and lots of veg. So that's really how that works. And for those of you that really want to research more, I've just taken a quote from a meta-analysis of carbohydrate effects on mood called Sugar Rush or Sugar Crash. And it says, the idea that sugar can improve mood has been widely influential in popular culture, so much so that people all over the world consume sugary drinks to become more alert or combat fatigue. Our findings very clearly indicate that such claims are not substantiated. If anything, sugar will probably make you feel worse. And if you go down here, you can find the link for it, and you could read, if you really want to, you can read the whole research paper. And just over to you, Kathy.
So we've been through sugar highs and sugar lows, but what I wanted to finish with really was to say that sugar and sweet things are not completely banned. You don't have to go through your life restricting yourself. You just have to find ways of combining the food groups that we've discussed to get their maximum benefit. And one of the things that we have managed to do within Living Well is come up with some recipes that are simple to do and taste delicious, and they combine the food groups, but they also give you a touch of that sweetness that we all enjoy. And this recipe here for banana and apricot flapjacks is very easy to do, and they are delicious. They have a sweetness to them from the maple syrup and the bananas, but they also contain oats and they contain seeds. So if you would like to try those, they are really nice. I do make them on a regular basis. So we hope that this webinar has helped you and introduced you to sugar highs and sugar lows, and that you can take away from this any information that you can then use going forwards. Thank you for listening to this webinar.
Thank you. Oh.